I canceled my mother-in-law's $40,000 vow renewal less than 24 hours before it started. Now my husband is sleeping in his car. I'm a 29-year-old woman. I own a boutique wedding planning business. My mother-in-law, Linda, is 62. She wanted a vow renewal for her 40th anniversary. She begged me to handle it. Against my better judgment, I agreed to do it at cost. No planning fee, just vendor prices. We agreed on a strict budget of $15,000. Manageable, right? But Linda started acting like a bridezilla on steroids. She demanded I fire my usual florist because her aura was off. She tried to force me to book a venue that cost $12,000 alone. I kept shutting her down. I reminded her of the budget. Yesterday morning, I got a fraud alert on my corporate American Express. Someone had charged $8,500 for emergency imported peonies and another $4,000 for a harpist. I checked the transaction logs. The authorization signature was hers. I confronted Linda immediately. She didn't even deny it. She actually laughed and said, "Oh, honey, don't be stingy. It's a tax write-off for your little company anyway. Besides, I already told the guests it's a black tie affair." She had swiped my card details from my home office while babysitting our dog last week. I saw red. I didn't just dispute the charges, I went nuclear. I called every single vendor and canceled the contracts. All of them. The venue, the catering, the lighting. Because of my industry connections, I was able to void the contracts without major penalties. But the event is dead. When I told Linda, she screamed so loud the neighbors called the cops. She's currently sobbing on Facebook Live about how I ruined her legacy. My 32-year-old husband is furious. He admits what she did was wrong. But he says I should have just eaten the cost and dealt with it later to avoid the public humiliation. He says I chose money over family and embarrassed his mom in front of 150 guests who are already flying in. I told him he can pay me the $12,500 she tried to steal, or get out. He left. Am I the a-hole? Did I overreact, or was I justified? Let me know what you think. I feel like I'm going to throw up. I secretly gave my sister-in-law $4,000, and she spent it on a Louis Vuitton bag. I'm a 27-year-old woman. I work at the same company as my husband's sister, Becky. She's 24. We're not close, but we're civil. My husband, David, is 29. He's very strict with money. That's why we have a healthy savings account for a down payment on a house. Last Friday, Becky cornered me in the break room. She was hysterical, mascara running down her face, shaking. She said her landlord was kicking her out in 48 hours. She needed $4,000 immediately for back rent and fees. She begged me not to tell David. She said, "He'll lecture me, and tell Mom I'll be the family disappointment again." Against my better judgment, I transferred the money from our joint savings. I told myself I was saving the family from drama. I told David I moved the money to a high-yield CD so he wouldn't notice the balance drop immediately. But that's not even the worst part. Fast forward to today, I walk past Becky's cubicle, and there's a crowd. She's unboxing a brand new Louis Vuitton Neverfull bag. She's talking about her girls' trip to Tulum next week. I pulled her into the stairwell immediately. I said, "Becky, did you use my house fund for a purse?" She literally rolled her eyes. She said, "Relax, it's an investment in my personal brand. I can't get promoted. Looking poor, I'll pay you back when my tax return hits." I hissed, "That money was for rent," she smirked. "I handled the landlord with other methods." She checked her nails. "Don't be a narc. David doesn't need to know." Here's the problem. David just texted me 5 minutes ago. He said, "Hey, the bank app is glitching. It says we're down $4,000, calling them now." If I tell him the truth, he will go nuclear on his sister. He'll probably never trust me with finances again, for hiding it. If I don't, I have to lie to my husband, all to cover for a brat, who is currently booking a spray tan on company time. Becky is staring at me through the glass wall of the conference room. She's tapping her new bag and winking. Do I blow up my marriage to teach her a lesson? What would you do in this situation? Let me know in the comments. I feel terrible. I swapped my best friend's wedding catering for fast food and kept the money. I'm a 26-year-old woman, and I feel awful, but I also just paid off my credit card. So, I'm conflicted. My best friend, Jessica, is 27. She comes from old money. I work 2 retail jobs and barely scrape by. For her wedding last weekend, she put me in charge of the late-night bite station. She transferred me $5,000. She gave me a strict list of requirements: Wagyu sliders, truffle fries, and vegan artisan donuts. They had to be from a specific high-end bistro in the city. 2 days before the wedding, my dog needed emergency surgery. It was $2,800. I didn't have it. I looked at the wedding fund sitting in my account and made a split-second decision. I went to a wholesale club and 3 fast food drive-thrus. I bought 400 generic cheeseburgers, frozen fries, and grocery store donuts. Total cost, $650. I spent 6 hours arranging them on gold platters. I added organic garnishes. And I dusted everything with a $12 bottle of truffle powder I found on Amazon to hide the grease smell. The reception was insane. At 11 p.m., the servers brought out the food. I hid in the bathroom, terrified someone would spot the wrappers I'd buried in the trash. But then I heard cheering. I walked out to see Jessica stuffing a fast food burger into her mouth. She grabbed my arm, teary-eyed, and screamed. "You can literally taste the quality of the beef. Thank you so much for handling this." Everyone loved it. The Wagyu was a hit. I kept the remaining $4,350. I saved my dog and paid my rent for the next 2 months. But this morning, the panic set in. Jessica texted me. "Hey, my dad's accountant needs the invoice for the catering to write it off as an event expense. Can you forward the PDF? I'm currently mocking up a fake invoice in Photoshop. If I get caught, I lose my best friend and probably get sued. But she enjoyed the food, and my dog is alive. Am I the villain here? So, am I the a-hole, or did I do what I had to do? Let me know what you think." I watched my brother spend his rent money on Taylor Swift tickets. Now my whole family is calling me a monster. Am I the a-hole? I'm a 29-year-old woman. I work in tech. My brother Mark is 35. He's always been the fun dad. His ex-wife does most of the parenting. Mark is always broke, but somehow always has the latest iPhone. Last week he called me crying. He was 2 months behind on rent. That's $4,000 total. His landlord gave him a final notice. He said if he loses the apartment, his ex will get full custody. He won't have a stable bedroom for my niece, Sophie. She's 10 years old. Sophie is my world, so, against my better judgment, I sent him the $4,000. I told him, "This is for rent, deposit it immediately." 3 days later, I'm scrolling Instagram. I see a story posted by Mark. It's him and Sophie, but they weren't at the leasing office. They were at the Eras tour, floor seats. Sophie was wearing at least $300 worth of new merch and holding a VIP lanyard. I felt the blood drain from my face. I called him instantly. He didn't pick up. It was too loud. He texted me a selfie of them screaming along to Cruel Summer. He finally called me back this morning. He was so casual, I asked about the rent. He went silent. Then he said this gem. "Look, Sophie has been having a hard time at school. She needed a win. I couldn't be the dad who says no to her dream. Money comes and goes, but this is a core memory." He admitted he spent $3,200 on the resale tickets. The rest was for the experience. Then he asked if I could send another $4,000 for the rent. He said the landlord won't wait. I lost it. I told him the concert was his early inheritance. I wouldn't give him another dime. I told him he chose a core memory over a roof over his daughter's head. He started screaming that I'm punishing a child for his choice. He said if he gets evicted, Sophie's trauma will be on my hands. Now my mom is calling me. She says I can't let them be homeless over a mistake. But I feel like enabling him again is the real mistake. So, am I the a-hole? Did I overreact, or is my brother completely out of line? Let me know what you think.